Okay. Yesterday I was talking about schizoid personality and what it means, signs and symptoms, what to look out for in somebody, how they live, what it is realistically, and how it affects the person who has it. So schizoid personality is a mental health disorder, and because of that, this is a very sensitive subject. And if you're triggered by such, this is your trigger warning thing. Today, I'm hoping to finish the whole of this. I'm not a big fan of doing it in 3 parts. I prefer to only do 2, but there's a lot to get through. Today, I'm going to talk about how they diagnose it, how treatment works, and how people with schizoid personality actually cope with this condition, and how they actually get to a point where how the treatment actually helps them as well. Anybody who knows me or has watched any of my videos will know that I do everything via my notebook because my brain does not retain information. So everything's done by notes. I read it. It's why I don't just put out videos left, right, centre. So the DSM-5. So let's talk about it. Yeah, let's actually talk about it. So to diagnose somebody with schizoid personality disorder, the DSM-5 has a list of conditions that have to be met for somebody to be declared as schizoid, with schizoid personality disorder. And to start off with, they have stated that only a psychiatrist or a mental health specialist can diagnose this, which means that no neurologist, no other doctors, no general GPs, no actual doctors can actually diagnose this. Okay, you can't go into a hospital, get a brain scan, and a neurologist can look at it and go, "Oh yeah, you've got this condition." Okay, you can't do that. A psychiatrist or a mental health specialist has to diagnose this. Okay, and they have to follow this criteria. It's almost like a tick list, I suppose. With all of these, they're like tick lists for things that they say, "Oh yeah, this is what makes this diagnosis." So here we go. So they must always choose solitary activities, which I find strange considering if you have a covert schizoid personality, they are very sociable. They're classed to be very sociable people. But even so, they must always choose solitary activity. Okay, fair enough. They have an emotional detachment and lack of emotional expression. Now that one makes sense, because whether you have a covert or an overt side, if you're covert or overt, that is yeah, you are. I don't understand the choosing the solitary activity, because if you have a covert schizoid personality, you are deemed to be very sociable. I don't understand how that works, but I'm not the DSM-5, so yeah. Can't. Yeah. Okay, so there's an indifference to criticism or pleasure. That makes sense because it doesn't matter who you are, what side of the coin you end up on. Nobody with schizoid has this, cares about criticism or pleasure. We've established that quite clearly throughout these videos. They lack desire and enjoyment for intimate relationships, which makes sense again, because regardless of which side of the coin they're on, neither one of them actually has this enjoyment of intimate relationships. They don't want real friendships. They just don't, it's not there. There's no connection there. Again, that, and when I say intimate relationships, I don't just mean girlfriend, boyfriends, partners, relationships. I mean friendships in general, because friendships are very intimate. You don't make a friend just by walking up to someone and saying hello. You talk to each other. It's a connection, and it is intimate because you're talking to each other about everything. You're spilling your secrets. You're talking to each other about who you are, and you're opening yourself up. It is an intimate thing, having a friend. As weird as that sounds, it is a very intimate thing because you're making yourself vulnerable to somebody else. You know, it's not just, you know, your partner, your husband, your girl, your wife, your girlfriends, boyfriends, fiancés, partners in any general shape or form. When you make a friend, you open yourself up. You make yourself completely vulnerable because you trust that person. Which is why if they break that trust, it hurts so much because you've made yourself vulnerable, you've opened yourself up, you've told them things about yourself, you know, and now they've broken that, you know. So when I say they lack enjoyment or for intimate relationships, we're talking friendships in general, we're talking any kind of relationship, whether it be for a partner or for a friendship. Okay. So yeah. So, and then of course on the next side of the list we've got things like they have little to no interest in sex, which again we've covered in quite nicely throughout most of these videos. They're not interested. I would class them as almost asexual. That's kind of how I see them. If I'm wrong, please, if somebody with schizoid personality has seen these videos and me saying that they are almost like asexual and that's wrong, please feel free to tell me otherwise. You know, put it in the comments, especially, you know, unless it is too intimate, you can message me on Facebook. I don't generally use email because I don't always check my emails. I just don't. Yeah. They don't have any close friends. Other than immediate family, they don't really have any close anybody. So their immediate family, that is it. That is their circle. So their parents, maybe their siblings, if they have any. Yeah, that's it. That's their life. That's their circle of whatever's. Yeah, and that is how they diagnose somebody with schizoid personality, which I find really interesting, actually. You know, but I will turn over the page. Right. One thing that I did find, as interesting as those diagnosis list is, in a lot of cases, the symptoms have been known to like decrease in severity as people get older, but it doesn't go away completely. So as people like grow up, they get older, as they become, you know, as they mature, some of the symptoms will lessen. They won't be so kind of severe, which is kind of nice actually. Because if they've been very kind of antisocial, if they've been very sensitive to anything, if they've been very kind of solitary, if that has made them, if that kind of goes away slightly and it has allowed them to be more kind of sociable, even if it's only surface social, you know, it's helpful, it's useful, you know. And there's a lot of symptoms that, you know, you never know what they're going through and what kind of symptoms they've got and how severe they are. But if they can decrease slightly as they mature, it can be really helpful for them. Problem is, because of the nature of this condition, a lot of people refuse or sometimes don't even have the energy to get help. Um, the motivation is, or the lack of motivation, is a massive obstacle for them. Um, and sometimes, again, if they get help, they will struggle to interact with the professional purely because they don't think they're doing anything wrong. Now, see, when I read that, when I saw that, and I did double check it on several different sites, just to make sure that I wasn't like seeing that wrong. I mean, I looked through psychiatric sites and a lot of medical sites and to find all my information because I don't go through one thing. Um, but they all said the same thing because that was just absolutely almost the same thing as you see in somebody with narcissistic personality. If they get help in any way, shape, or form, if somebody with narcissistic personality gets any kind of help, goes and sees someone for any reason, they don't believe there's anything wrong with them. So they don't really take on board anything they say. It kind of reminded me, just like that, people with schizoid personality struggle to even go to somebody for help. They have no motivation to go for help, and if they do get help, they struggle to interact with somebody. They struggle to interact with a professional, and they don't think there's anything wrong with them. And it kind of smacked on somebody with narcissistic personality. And yet, there's no actual link to it, which really shocked me because there have been a couple of times when I've sat there and thought, this smacks on narcissistic personality. Purely because of their lack of motivation, their lack of interest, their lack of. They don't believe there's anything wrong with them. They don't believe they should need help. And yet, with everything that's going on with them, it's like, it just did. It's exactly what it did for me. It just smacked on narcissistic personality. And yet, they are complete opposites. There's nothing remotely that links the two conditions at all. You know, but that one set of phrasing that I found in several different sites, they all said it. They all said it almost exactly the same way as well, which was kind of incredible. You know, that none of them wanted to get help. They had no motivation to get help, and if they did, they struggled to actually respond to the professional, and they all did it. They all said it, and I'm like, wow. But again, there was something that I did see after that. I mean, when I got over the whole, that smacks of like narcissism. When I got over the whole kind of bit that I went through my head for like ages, and it did. It went through my head for like ages, and I was like going round and around my head for a bit. Because I do that, things just get stuck in my head for a while. But when I kind of got over that, and like carried on looking at it all and reading it all and searching through it all, there was another part to all of that, because despite the lack of motivation, despite the ability to respond and, to the professional, they can actually, the ability, it's not respond to it, is it? It's not respond, get this right. Interact, it's not respond to the professional, it's the act to respect. Despite their inability to interact with the professional and their lack of motivation, they can respond well to treatment. So, actually, when I got over the whole bit, and it does go through my head, and I do get a bit kind of crazy, because I'm a bit like that, because I do that a lot with a lot of things. When I got over that, and I must admit I'm not always over that, because I read that and then I go, as you've just noticed. Once they start going regularly, although they're struggling to interact actually with the professionals actually can get through to them, and they do respond really well to treatment. So although they struggle, the person with schizoid personality struggles to interact with them to begin with, the professional has the ability to get through to the person with schizoid personality, and they actually respond really, really well to treatment. Okay, and the treatment is actually designed to help them focus on maintaining relationships, which is, I think, is kind of cool. So, on to treatment. So, despite their initial kind of issues with seeking treatment and getting treatment and being in therapies of any type, once they're there, they respond really, really well, which I think is actually incredible. Okay, so there are different therapies that they can go to. Obviously, CBT is like the first protocol that they can go to, and CBT is there to help identify problematic thoughts and behaviours, I suppose, and to develop new coping skills. So it's blatantly there to help them with life itself, help them identify all the issues in their life, the ways that they work, and the issues that they face in general, and to actually give them almost like a life skills, like new coping methods, like this is what you're going to do when this happens. Actually, it's a great way of doing things. You know, they can actually go through all three of these. What I found is sometimes once they go through one, they can sometimes manage to go through all three of these and come out like with an incredibly new set of like life skills. So the CBT gives them new coping methods and new coping skills. The group therapy helps them practice interpersonal skills. So, you know, that's really helpful. And the one-on-one must always be done with a professional who understands the condition. So it has to be done with somebody who understands schizoid personality disorder to its nth degree and will not push too hard and is really careful not to put pressure on them emotionally. Because if you put some pressure on somebody with schizoid personality, emotional pressure on somebody with schizoid personality, it will set them backwards, it will hurt them, it will hinder them. So it has to be done with somebody who understands this condition to the nth degree, you know. But like I said, they can go through these and come out absolutely with a whole new set of skills to go through life. And things like this, they get coping methods because of their emotional intimacy. So this is the kind of things that they get help with, okay? And things that others can help them with as well. You know, so the support network around them, this is what they can do as well to help them while they're going through therapy and after they've been through therapy. So with their emotional intimacy is so challenging. Emotional intimacy is challenging for them. But in work or social environments, you know, people around them can help them join in, like if they've got a work social or meetings, like get them involved in work meetings, like purposely get them involved in work meetings, purposely help them get involved in the work socials. You know, there's always a work social, you know, so get them involved in it, push them to get them involved in it, you know. Outside of work, you know, family, you know, friends of family, push them to get things like, or help them to join an evening class, you know, not a solo thing, but an actual evening class for something they're actually interested in, you know. But do it in such a way that it's done slowly and carefully, without judgment, without berating them. You have to like lift them up, you know, be really kind of patient and encouraging, and, you know, look for things that you don't require any commitment whatsoever. And when I say push them, I don't mean like force them into something that they don't want to do. You know, I mean like encourage them to sort of do something that they love doing, but do it in like a group environment rather than on their own. You know, do it with them, go with them, so that they've got somebody there that they know. They're not just shoved into a place full of people that they have no idea what's going on, and they're nobody they know, and make them feel like they're going to be safe there. It's the kind of thing that you can. It's going to take time, and going to take a lot of patience. It's going to take this kind of concept of, you know, you're going to need a lot of patience, because they're not going to do something like that. It's going to take months sometimes to get them that close to walking into a classroom full of people, you know, just to do something they love doing, you know. But with the right encouragement, with the right uplifting of them, you know, if you uplift them enough, if you encourage them enough, if you give them the right kind of positivity, they will get there. You know, it's about not berating them every time they fail, or every time they don't do something you don't want them to, you know, or judging them because they can't do it, or they're struggling with it. You know, and it's really difficult because it's second nature for us to get really impatient with people. It just is. It is absolutely second nature for us to get really impatient. And I think that because of that, we forget how to be really patient, how to be really kind of encouraging for a long period of time, not just for like a short amount of time. You know, it's not easy. But that's kind of how you have to be around these people. You know, it can be, I suppose, emotionally draining to be around people like that, when you have to constantly be like uplifting them and being really kind of woo. But yeah, it's worth it, because it'll make their life better, their life easier, and in the long run it'll work for you too. So it's always worth it. Anyway, I'm going to go and figure out the next path, because that one was interesting. I don't know what I'm going to do next. So, and have a look at a few things, and I'll see you later.